Hi, and welcome to another episode of the New Ray Media Show. We're super happy to be having another CPG founder today as a guest. We're very honored to introduce you to David Downing. He is the co-founder and CEO at ChipMonk Baking. ChipMonk is a specialty baking business that focuses on creating low-carb, no-added sugar desserts. Their mission, which stems from one of the co-founders' experience reversing and controlling his type 2 diabetes with a low-carb diet, is to empower people through mindful nutrition. They use gluten-free ingredients, nut-based flours, and sweeteners with a low glycemic impact, friendly for diabetics. Their products are perfect for anyone trying to cut sugar out of their life. So a little bit about David. He's a focused activator who thrives in a challenging environment and is driven by a desire to learn. He has a strong educational background in accounting and has multiple years of experience working for global professional service firms, Fortune 500 companies, venture capital firm, and most recently his very own startup company, ChipMonk Baking. And we're going to be discussing the in and outs of food innovation and health-based solutions. So let's kick it off. Hey David, thank you so much for joining me today. Well, why don't we start with, maybe you can tell me just a little bit about yourself, a little bit about the company, and how you joined this new whole health food revolution that we're kind of seeing.
Sure. So I'm David Downing, co-founded ChipMonk Baking in early 2019 with my business partner, Jose Hernandez. Jose is kind of the real reason I got into it. We both were working in the startup space. At the time, my background's in finance accounting. He's more sales. And Jose actually has type 2 diabetes. So when we were living together, he had to avoid processed carbs and sugar. And one weekend he made a bunch of desserts for himself, including these sugar-free cookies. Obviously gave me some to try because I was right there. And when I tried them, I was like, wow, this tastes, really good. This is just a regular cookie to me. Yet out there in the grocery stores, most of the desserts, snacks you buy are just really bad for you. And it doesn't really seem like there's an option that tastes good, that has healthy ingredients. Yeah, there's a big market need for it. Because, in the United States, 1 in 3 people either are diabetic or pre-diabetic, which is, a massive number. And I would say probably half the country at any given time is always trying to cut down on their sugar intake or their carbs or lose weight. A lot of people are gluten-free as well. Certain diseases like cancer, you just can't even have sugar. So we kind of took these cookies and we're like, let's just trial it out. Took it to our office, tried selling it there, did well enough to keep going and made some more, went to some local farmers markets, and eventually kind of just got enough momentum where we decided to leave our jobs and pursue building ChipMonk full time, making better for you cookies. So we have our own bakery and everything in Houston, Texas now.
That's incredible. No, yeah, I think I call it some sort of revolution or movement, because yeah, for a while, I don't know if you're around my same age as me, around 30, but all you could ever see is people pushing sugar, and everything was sugar and everything, because obviously it's it triggers the same reaction in our brain as cocaine, right? It's so addicted. And for me, when I started my beef jerky brand, I was the same thing. I'm sick of eating trash, and just as some sort of snack that just filled with sugar, I would go buy beef jerky and it still had a ton of sugar. And I think for me, it was a little bit more of just being angry at myself of shoving garbage into my mouth. And I'm
yeah.
Well, if you're gonna complain, that's good enough, but no, you go out there and be part of the solution, right? Start something that you will eat, you'd be happy to make. So that's why I'm super excited chatting with people like you. How are you approaching customers? Where are you going to introduce yourself to people, and what's the message that you're putting out there? Is it just the part of the sugar-free? What's the message that you put when you first introduce yourself to a market?
Yeah, so I guess you could say we're an omni-channel business. We sell on direct to consumer channels like our websites, Amazon, Walmart.com, and then we also sell our products through B2B channels like grocery stores, coffee shops, etc. When it comes to direct to consumer, you have I guess, more opportunities to speak with your existing and potential customers, via digital advertising, email marketing, your website. And then when it comes to retail, really the only way you can talk to potential customers is through your packaging, or, if you've got the budget for it, you can do like some demos, or as a founder, if you've got time for it, you can go out and at least do local demos and kind of have those conversations. Jose and I, when we were just getting started though, we did, I don't know, like countless farmers markets. I still have like PTSD from it because I'm sort of an introverted guy, and in farmers markets, like if you want to be successful, you can't just sit in your booth and not say anything. Like you have to be out and like actively pulling people in and talking to them. And so we got a good feel for, like how to pitch the product. And I think it really kind of depends on like where the person is in terms of like their relationship with food. Our best customers are people that have already actively decided, kind of like what you're saying, like, hey, I recognize that things like sugar and like overly processed ingredients are probably not good for me. And I need to cut that out if I want to live like a long, healthy life. And usually the pain point those people have is the stuff that's on the market today is just like subpar. Either the ingredients, like they're kind of claiming to be good for you, but they're really not. Or, maybe it is really good for you. But it's like a kale cookie and it tastes horrible, right? Like it doesn't have the same taste. So you really feel like you're sacrificing something when you're going for it. And so the main thing we can do for folks like that is like, hey, just try the product. Get a cookie in their mouth, and once they taste it, they can be blown away and like, this is so much better than any other like low carb, low sugar cookie I've had. And then that'll usually get them to be a buyer. We sort of take that same approach on our digital marketing, where all of our initial top of funnel ads lead to a landing page, which, at a high level, it's like, hey, here's sort of what's unique about this product. And we're just really trying to push to get a sampler sent to them. It's a low cost, like sampler box. I think it's like a $19.99 price point where it's free shipping. And we reiterate like 1,000 times that, hey, if you don't like this, we will immediately refund you, no questions asked. So really kind of take that like risk away from the potential buyer, and just convince them to give it a try. And then once they try it and, hopefully they like it, we have a pretty high return customer rate. Then it's just sort of marketing out like, hey, here's our new flavors, and here's like what we're doing in the background, and they just keep coming back. But I think, with food, it's just about getting it in their mouths, and for our cookies, just sort of explaining the ingredients, the unique characteristics of it. I will say, like, for people who haven't bought into that like healthier lifestyle way of eating, it's just an uphill battle. Like I don't know if you can win that, because the sort of thing people don't talk too much about, but when you talk about making better for you products, it's just going to cost more, right? And so if someone doesn't really care that much about cutting their sugar out, even if you have an amazing tasting product, well, the Oreos also taste amazing, and they cost 1/10 of like what our cookies would be. So it's just a really tough, marketing battle there. And I would say as an early stage brand, like you should probably just ignore those people, because you can't compete with like the $1 billion food companies just at this point. Maybe not ever. Who knows?
No, I like that a lot. I think that we get entrenched with trying to convince people, right? Instead of going to the people that are already ready to buy, in quotations, like they're ready in their journey. And then we spend marketing dollars, and we spend even just our efforts, our minds, our limited, range as entrepreneurs or business owners that we have. We know we have so much stuff going on. And then if we get into ourselves, like, we have to convince people to buy, like, just go to the people that are ready. I love that. I see some businesses, CPG brands, doing either focusing on trying to get their food or their package or product as many places, retail as they can, or really just going deep as social media, doing it yourself and leading everybody to your online store. Do you find yourself leading to one way or another? Like maybe you see better return on one side or just easier effort?
Yeah, I think it's changed over time. I think in the early days, e-commerce is definitely, for us, was the main focus, just because I guess you could say like our product wasn't even retail ready, right? Like it was still we kind of like for a long time, we just like, we had clear packaging and we just put little stickers on it. And I mean, sometimes we changed the recipe like week to week because we were still figuring out like what worked and what didn't. But, you know, that doesn't stop us from immediately being able to market the product and kind of bring some customers along that journey with us. So, you know, I think as the early stages, that's probably your quickest path to getting some revenue. And it's also the quickest path to getting immediate, like valuable feedback to help fine tune your product so that it is ready for retail. You understand like what's working, what's not. And then it prevents you from taking any major risks, right? Like when you're selling on your website, you're selling one order at a time. You can turn it off at any time. So there's no one order that's going to sink your company. But if you start selling to like Walmart and you screw that up in any way, like you're done. Like that's sort of game over. So I think the e-commerce direct to consumer path is great for the early stage. I'll say where we are now, we've kind of hit, I guess, a wall in e-commerce growth where it appears the only way to continue to grow it in a meaningful way is to spend a lot of money on like digital advertising to get in front of more people. And that's really expensive, and it makes the kind of the margins in that channel not great. Versus with wholesale, you know, kind of once you reach a certain stage on e-commerce with wholesale, you can start entering there and start talking to independent stores. You can get onto platforms like Faire or Abound and get your products into retail stores without having to work with a major distributor. And the margins there can be very, very good. And because there's just not a whole lot of middlemen, and the types of people shopping these places are probably used to like premium price products anyways. So that's where we've been focusing a lot more, is on the kind of the wholesale side. It has better margins for us now because there isn't as much, the customer acquisition costs just aren't there, right? And the volume can be significantly higher. So like in terms of the labor involved, you know, it's much easier to ship out a $1,000 wholesale order than it is to prepare enough e-commerce orders for $1,000. I will say, like, as you get bigger though, with a CPG company, then you start to playing with distributors to get meaningful growth on the wholesale side. And that's when they'll start eating into your margins, because there's all kinds of fees. You know, they'll demand like marketing, promos, discounts. There's also kinds of fees if you like don't do things exactly the way they want you to do them. And you know, that can be kind of a trap where you might fall in thinking like, hey, wholesale is the greatest place ever. But then after you onboard with a big distributor partner, at the end of the day, you're really not making any money. So yeah, we're trying to be really cautious with that. Like I approach the business like one step at a time. I made so many mistakes, but the goal is to don't make any mistakes that could like finish you. You know, like you can kind of roll with it.
No, I like that. Yeah, depending on the stage that you're at, maybe e-commerce would be it. Then distributor, like it goes up and down. There's not one answer fits all type of thing, right?
Yeah.
Did you, in any stage, find influencer marketing helping, or what were your thoughts on that?
Influencer marketing is really, it's hard because I'd say like at the highest level, it's not very measurable, right? You have a lot of people out there that will promise you the world, but there's no way of finding out until you've spent a lot of money with them. And 90% of them are probably not going to be able to deliver, probably higher than 90%, won't be able to deliver the types of results you would need to justify what you're spending, versus like a Facebook ad, right? Like, you know exactly what you get out of it when you put money in, and you can tweak it. And it's also like a smaller incremental spend. A lot of influencers, like they can charge a bunch. I'll say though, we have found some influencers, you know, it's like the top 1% that can really move the needle. Funnily enough, like usually those are the ones that will do things for free for you, or they'll work on like a commission basis where you can have like an affiliate program set up with them. I think it comes down to finding the folks that you really click with and can build a true relationship with, and then that they're ideally like tuned into your key audience. So we have like he's an influencer in the keto space on YouTube. We met him really early on, and he just did like a review video of our stuff for, you know, just because he thought it would be interesting. And we've maintained that relationship for years. And now whenever we make anything new, we always send it to him. We have like conversations with him for feedback, and he probably drives more like affiliate revenue than any of the other influencers we work with. And we don't pay him like a $5,000, $10,000 per post type thing. So I think it can be successful. The problem we've had is like, how do you scale those efforts up? Because like I can find one or two highly successful influencers, but I can't guarantee that if I spend 40 more hours looking for more, then I'm going to find it again. I think the same can be said of like PR and media outreach. Like you can get a few, like one or two hits that'll blow you up for a bit, but like, can you consistently generate that to grow your business? I don't know. It's kind of tough.
I like the way that you're answering. Maybe this question would be perfect. What are the biggest lessons that you learned purely on data that the data showed you and it taught you a completely other thought that you had or idea that you had to change your mind?
I mean, I think this maybe a good example is going back to our conversation around like direct-to-consumer e-commerce channel versus wholesale, and like really understanding like which one is making money for us. And I think for a while, because we came from e-commerce first, that's sort of where I was assuming we were doing the best. But then, when I pulled all the data, and it can be kind of a lot of different sources of confusing, right? Because there's sort of there's not just your direct ad spend, but you're paying potentially agencies or in-house team to do stuff. You're paying for all these subscriptions, like SMS, email apps, all the widgets on your website, all that stuff. Like you don't think about it, but it does add up over time. You're paying affiliate fees. And so when I ran the numbers, and it was literally like, well, here's our Shopify revenue, and like, here's the ad spend, here's the app spend, here's what we're spending on marketing, here's the commissions. When I got to the bottom of it, it was like, oh shit, we've got like a 10% margin here. In which, funnily, like some CPG companies would say like, wow, that's great.
Yeah. I was gonna say that. Some people would say like, wow, what are you doing? Yeah.
But then, if I did this exact same exercise on our wholesale business, it was like 3-4 times that. And so when we think about, well, we've got like this in-house marketing person, maybe instead of spending all this time on social media or Facebook ads, we should have them focus on B2B wholesale outreach and like generating new leads for stores, right? So I think getting a full financial picture of whatever channels you're playing in is really, really important to help direct the energies of your company. And it can be so muddy. That's what I hate about like marketing, even digital marketing, is you can never fully attribute everything. And so, it's like, oh, well, $1 spent on Amazon generated $2 on Amazon, but maybe it drove somebody to the website. I don't know. Yeah. And then, agencies and your marketing people will always, they'll always throw that out at you when you like start questioning the budget. So it's confusing.
No. I'm in the marketing side, and that's something that, because I started a business first, like I hate talking about clicks and stuff. And I see that a lot of agencies that are kind of with the times are now going towards just literally asking the person about it. Where did you hear about first? All the analytics, everything goes out the window. Now it's more about just asking the person, where did you find us? Where did you hear about first? And that's the most valuable data that you can get.
Absolutely.
Since you started, have you felt a switch or something change in your personal beliefs or habits from when you began your business to now that maybe you could shine a light on?
I think I've had to, develop a level of patience, and I don't know if like flexibility is the right word, but I'm naturally a pretty uptight person. I can be very like cynical, and I typically think of the downside instead of celebrating the upside, which in some ways is like a strength of mine because it helps avoid like risks and kind of keeps plans realistic. But I know like early on, I made some pretty major mistakes with the business. Like, for example, first time we ordered custom packaging, I got the wrong dimensions. Like literally the cookies could not fit into the bags, and we ordered like 100,000 bags. So, like stuff like that at the time, I lost it. Like I freaked out and I was so upset, and it like just, it was a horrible experience. Now, actually just the other day, I literally had something like this happen where we ordered some packaging that was wrong. And it's just like, you just kind of roll with it. It's like, okay, well, getting emotionally upset doesn't help at all. All you can do is kind of focus on like, well, how did this happen in the first place? How do we avoid it? And how do we move forward? And I think when you're an entrepreneur and like you're both the one making the decisions, a lot of the decisions, and you're living with the, the impacts of those decisions, it kind of makes you a little more flexible, patient to roll with that and learn that, the reaction, like an emotional reaction, is not going to help. Just problem solving, I guess, is key. I guess another thing too, like as you grow a business, is moving beyond just like yourself, and like how important it is to build up like a team of people that are like capable of thinking for themselves, doing that problem solving on themselves, and probably just having that growth mindset is really important. Sometimes when you have your small business and you're crammed, you want to like hire whoever first, like whoever's there, like a body that can help. That's a really dangerous path to take. Better to like really vet people and ideally find people that can like grow with the company, because if you find those people, then it makes it so much more enjoyable, because you don't feel like you're having to run like every little aspect of the business. It's like, oh, like I fully trust this person can handle operations, or this person can handle digital marketing, and that way I can just focus on the things that like I enjoy doing or I feel like I'm better at.
I saw myself doing that in the beginning as well. Kind of like starting to hate the job that I was doing, even though I got into it because I loved it, because automatically everything, I was being pulled towards something that I just didn't like. And to a point, I think with a lot of help with my wife and telling me to just hire somebody else to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, maybe. Sounds kind of dumb, but I'll try it. And like you start enjoying your day and like giving like the company your best. I think that's the way I can put it. What's one company or like one product that you remember from your childhood that just completely stands out from the rest? Like maybe a campaign or just like a product that just completely ruled your childhood? That's
hard. I feel like marketing when I was growing up, like they were doing some weird like psychotherapy stuff, but there's some brands that are just like seared into my brain. I don't know. I feel like if I think about like brands, and this isn't good because they're not healthy, I feel like McDonald's really had me on lockdown as a kid. Like I was the kind of kid, I was definitely a brat, where like my parents would go out to a restaurant and I would like want a McDonald's Happy Meal at the restaurant. And like they had the Monopoly game and the little mini Beanie Babies, all the little toys, the ball pit. I don't know, something about it. It's funny because like I think I eat McDonald's maybe like 2-3 times a year now, but growing up, like it was a big thing. And I'm sure they're hitting on both sides, because they got me like as a kid to really love it, but then for my parents, the tempting offer to them is like, hey, like you're so busy with your professional life, here's an easy answers, right? Like you don't really know what you don't know. I think there's 2 really valuable tools you can use to help offset that. One is like networking. Get on like LinkedIn. It's a great tool, and find people that maybe have been there, done that with what you're trying to do, and just reach out. You'd be surprised how many people are willing to at least talk. And then I'd say books. And if you don't read, like audiobooks, such a gold mine of like new ideas. Like when I find myself in an emotional slump and just kind of like can't get out of it, if I read books, it kind of brings out some new ideas, and that can be a great way to like re-energize me and make me come back to the business and be like, oh, I didn't attack it like that. I think I'm reading a book right now. It's called like 4,000 Weeks, and it's about like time management. And it's just a reminder that the average human being only actually lives for 4,000 weeks. And, like there's literally, it's physically impossible to get all the things you want to do in your life done. And so like you shouldn't worry about that. Like you should just kind of focus on things you enjoy and go from there. But stuff like that, it's like I wouldn't normally even think about those things, but it kind of puts me in a different state of mind, which I think it's a good place to be, versus kind of like what you're saying when you're down in the trenches doing a lot of like the grunge work that you might not like doing. It can kind of put you in this, like you're like in a box mindset, and books are a great way to kind of lift you out of that and give you some new inspiration when you're feeling down. That's it.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Thank you for taking the time. It was super valuable. It was 20 minutes and it was packed. I loved it.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you, David. Have a good day.
All right. See you, man.